Okay, estudiantes, now we're going to talk about subjunctive in adverbial clauses. Okay, obviously these function as an adverb, so they tell you when or how or in what way a verb happens. Here's what's different about adverbial clauses from the noun clauses and the adjective clauses that we've done before. A lot of times, right, instead of being introduced with K, that's what you guys are used to. It was, blah, 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 K. With adverbial clauses, it may be a phrase that is not K at all, okay? Or it could be like something K, like para K, okay? So that's how you're going to identify these clauses because they're not just introduced with a K. It's a different trigger phrase. Okay, so this is divided into sections. First sections, we're going to talk about our 50-50s, also called the conjunctions of time, okay? After these phrases, 50% of the time you use indicative, 50% you use subjunctive. So these are ones where when you see these 6 beautiful trigger words, you're going to have to decide, oh, okay, should it be subjunctive or indicative? And I'll tell you how in a second, okay? But here you go. You've got a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, okay? Now, cuando you already know. Okay, these other ones are new, but después de, most of you guys know that means after, so después de que, all right, obviously after. Yep, so let's go on. Okay, so here's, when you see those 6 trigger phrases, your brain should go into analysis mode, subjunctive or indicative. Here's how you decide. If, okay, what comes after the 50-50 phrase describes an expected event, which we call a suceso anticipado, you'll use the subjunctive. So I've tried to diagram it here a little bit for you. So the sample sentence, vamos a salir cuando. So cuando is my 50-50 trigger phrase. I analyze what comes after cuando. Do not analyze what comes before that trigger. That's going to get you confused. You analyze the verb that's after. So we are going to leave, or we will leave, when Miguel arrives, okay? Manuel arriving is an expected event. Maybe he just texted you, he's on the way, but what if he doesn't arrive for some reason? What if his mom grounds him all of a sudden? What if he gets lost? What if he changes his mind and blows you off? You don't know. So because that's an expected event, you can see my verb llegar, AR verb, has been put into the subjunctive. Okay? Another example, tendremos una fiesta cuando nuestros padres salgan, right? We will have a party when, that's my 50-50, okay? Our parents leave. Well, what if your parents decide not to leave? You expect them to, but maybe they don't, okay? So remember to analyze what comes after the 50-50 trigger phrase. I get a lot of kids that'll go, well, we're going to have a party. That's not expected. No, I don't care about that part. I care about what comes after my 50-50 phrase, okay? All right. Now, on the opposite end, when you use indicative, is after the 50-50 trigger phrase, if this describes a routine. Okay, so mi madre siempre me hace una torta tan pronto como, right? So tan pronto como is one of your 50-50s. It means as soon as, okay? And siempre I highlighted because it's a key word here. My mom always makes me a sandwich as soon as I come home from school. Well, always turns this into a routine, which is why regreso, my verb, again, after my 50-50 phrase, becomes indicative, okay? Now, the other way you're going to use indicative for these is after the 50-50 trigger phrase, if the verb describes an already completed action. We call that a suceso ya pasado, then you'll use the indicative, okay? So your sample sentence, anoche estuvimos a la fiesta hasta que los padres volvieron a casa, right? So last night we were at the party until the parents came home, okay? So hasta que is your 50-50. You look at what comes after that. The parents came home. That already happened. How do I know? Oh, courtesy of this lovely word anoche, which means last night. So you know this already took place. So I'm going to use indicative, and even more specifically, I have to use preterite. I can't put it in the present tense because it's not happening right now. It already happened. Okay? Good. So your 3 options after these 50-50 trigger phrases, if it's an expected event, you use subjunctive. If it's a past event or a routine, you use indicative. All right, now we're going to draw squiggly lines so you can start a new notes section because it's still about adverbial clauses, but it's not about 50-50s. These are going to be your favorite phrases because they are siempre subjuntivo. These phrases, when you see them, you will always need to put the verb in the subjunctive. The verb that comes after these phrases, it will always go in the subjunctive. You don't need to say, oh, is it an expected event? Oh, is it? Don't strain your brain like that. Just memorize these 12 phrases and say, join them together in your brain. Say, this phrase, always subjunctive. This way, always subjunctive. That way, you're going to save yourself a lot of annoyance and work and frustration. All right, so the first one, well, the first two technically, para que and de manera que, and these expressions both mean so that. So here's your sample sentence. Mis padres trabajan mucho para que yo tenga muchas oportunidades. My parents work so that I have many opportunities. You can see my verb after para que, tenga, is in the subjuntivo, okay? Again, these will always take subjunctive. If you want to analyze this, okay, then it makes sense why this would be subjunctive because it's an expected event. My parents work really hard so that I have many opportunities. Your parents expect you to have opportunities, but what if you blow them? What if you decide to be lazy and not take advantage of any of their hard work? Okay? So if you forget that these phrases always introduce the subjunctive, you can go back, old school style, and analyze and say, oh, is this a routine or expected event or a past event? And this is an expected event. So you'd get to the same place, but why go through all that work? Memorize them, knowing that they always take the subjunctive. Okay, 3 more that have the same meaning. A menos que, a no ser que, salvo que, which all mean unless. Vamos a prom, a menos que mi novio no quiera. So we're going to go to prom unless my boyfriend doesn't want to. Okay, again, you don't really know what's going to happen. En caso de que, in case, okay, voy a estudiar esta noche en caso de que hay una prueba de sorpresa mañana. I'm going to study tonight in case there's a surprise quiz tomorrow. Okay, again, expected event. A condición de que, on the condition that, okay, voy de compras a condición de que mi jefe me pague. I'm going to go shopping on the condition that my boss pays me. You would think he's going to pay you, but what if he doesn't? All these verbs in green, obviously, you can see, I've labeled them. They're in the subjunctive because these phrases, after them, you always use the subjunctive. Okay, now this is going to bring up an interesting point with this one because adverbial clauses, notice I didn't give you a formula. I didn't give you a subject one, verb one like we've been doing before because the thing about adverbial clauses is you can do them in multiple orders, right? Take this example, a fin de que, in order that. So in order that everybody relaxes, Fernando will have a party, okay? So you can see my first verb is in the subjunctive, okay? But I could easily flip this sentence and start with this part and say, Fernando tendrá una fiesta a fin de que todos se relajen. That doesn't matter. It's still going to be a fin de que. You're still going to take the verb that follows that and put it in the subjunctive. But sometimes it's going to be the first verb in your sentence and sometimes it's going to be the second one. To not get confused about that, focus on your trigger phrase, a fin de que, your siempre subjuntivo trigger phrase. That is where you should focus, and then you look at the verb after that. Okay, antes de que. Before class starts, I have to complete my homework. Okay? Again, antes de que, always subjunctive. No excuses. Siempre que, as long as, te amaré siempre que tú vivas. I will love you as long as you live. Siempre que, always subjunctive. Move on. Sin que, without. Saco una A sin que Juan me ayude. I'm getting an A without Juan helping me. Okay? Again, always subjunctive. Don't strain your brain. Con tal de que, provided that the class gets good grades, Senora Shields will be happy, okay? Provided that, siempre subjuntivo. The hard part about the siempre subjuntivos is just memorizing them and what they mean, okay? But it's like getting a pass on the analysis. You don't have to do any analysis. You see this phrase, you immediately go to the verb that follows it, and you put it in the subjunctive. End of story. All right, next section, another squiggly line, another related, still adverbial clauses, but different section. Okay, we have this word called aunque, and it can be translated multiple ways. Aunque can mean although. If it means although, we use indicative. It can mean even though, also we're going to use indicative, and even if, subjunctive. Okay, so to put it more clearly, after the word aunque, and again, aunque is your trigger phrase. So you look at what comes after that, whether it's at the beginning of your sentence or towards the end. That doesn't matter. You focus on aunque, and then you find the verb after that, okay? If the phrase that comes after aunque is a possibility, then we use the subjunctive. So here's your example. Even if we lose all our money in Vegas, the trip will be fun, okay? You may or may not lose all your money. That is a possibility. Us losing the money Could or could not happen. I don't know. Okay, you won't know until you go. So it's a possibility, which is why this verb here, perder, is in the subjunctive with the opposite ending. Okay? Alternatively, if after aunque, as your trigger phrase, what is introduced is a fact, a factual statement, a fact, something that is true, then we use the indicative. So, aunque la señora Shields es diabética, está bien saludable. Even though Mrs. Shields is diabetic, she is healthy. Even though, right, that's my aunque, Mrs. Shields is diabetic. That is a fact. I wish I could change it, but I cannot. It is a fact. Because it's a fact and not just maybe, maybe not, okay? That's why we use indicative. That's why we have es, okay? You cannot argue with that. Okay? And again, make sure you're focusing on that verb, that first verb that comes after your trigger word. The problem I get with kids in their analysis is they'll focus on the wrong parts of the sentence. Don't let that happen to you. Another squiggly line. Yay, your favorite. Okay, then we have these three trigger phrases, como, donde, según. Como, there is it defined for you, donde, defined for you, and según, defined for you, okay? After these trigger words, again, they get their own little, how do I tell subjunctive or indicative process, okay? So, after these trigger words, okay, again, you look at where it is in the sentence and you focus on the verb after that. Don't focus on what comes before that trigger word or what comes in a totally different part of the sentence. You focus on this and this verb right after it, okay? If what follows, como, donde, según, refers to a non-specific or unknown place, thing, or idea, we use subjunctive. So here's your example. Podemos organizar la fiesta como ustedes quieran. Okay, quieran is obviously in the subjunctive, okay? We can plan the party in any way you guys want. However you guys want. That's unknown because I don't know how that is. Do you guys want to have the party at home? Do you want to rent out a banquet hall? Do you want it to be formal? Do you want it to be casual? Do you want it to be a costume party? I have absolutely no idea. So because it is unknown to me, that is why I leave it in the subjunctive. Okay? Another example. Por supuesto, mi amor, podemos casarnos donde tú prefieras. Okay? Sure, we can get married wherever you prefer. Again, here's my trigger phrase, so I look at the verb after that, which would be preferir. I don't know where you prefer to get married. Where? On a beach? In a church? Jumping out of a plane? Everybody has a different, at the courthouse? Where do you want to get married? Because I don't know. It's unknown to me. It's not specific, so I go with subjunctive. Okay? Here's an example with según. Do me the favor of returning the money to me according to, here's my trigger word, so I look at the verb after it, okay? According to when it is convenient for you, okay? Again, when it's convenient for you. I don't know when that is. When is that going to be? It's open-ended. Is that tomorrow, a year from now, 5 years from now, never? I don't know when you're going to pay me back. So because that's unknown, woo! I totally just spelled that wrong. That's senora for you. Okay, moving on. All right, now conversely, for como, donde, según, if the phrase after the trigger word refers to a specific and known person, place, or idea, that's when we use the indicative, okay? So, completaremos la tarea como la señora Shields nos explicó ayer. We will complete the homework like Mrs. Shields explained to us yesterday, okay? If she explained it to you yesterday, then you know how that is, okay? She told you yesterday how she wanted it done, so it's known to you. So because of that, I'm going to use indicativo, explicó. That's indicative, and it's also preterite, okay? Or vamos a un restaurante donde la familia de Rafael ha comido. We're going to a restaurant where Rafael's family has eaten many times, okay? Again, where Rafael's family has eaten, if his family has eaten there, and now you're going to this restaurant, it's known to you. He was like, oh, we should go to this restaurant. My family likes it. It's known to you. So indicative, this happens to be present perfect tense. And lastly, with según, I live according to how my parents advise me, which is to love everyone. Again, because you have this little last part, love everybody, that's how my parents advise me to live. According to how my parents tell me, I know how that is. It says love everybody, okay? So it's known to me, so I use indicative. Squiggly line. We're almost done. Last section. All right, now we have expressions of probability, okay? So you have probablemente meaning probably, and then you have all these phrases that mean maybe or perhaps, okay? Tal vez, quizás, quizá, acaso, a lo mejor, blah, blah, blah. If you see, okay, the phrase after these trigger words, again, whether they come at the beginning of the sentence or later, okay, whatever verb comes after them, okay, if that it has a low probability of happening, we use subjunctive. So here's your example. Tal vez ganemos millones en la lotería. Maybe or perhaps we'll win millions in the lottery. That's a low probability. Many people buy lotto tickets, not many people win, okay? So it's not a very good chance, so low probability, which is why ganar is clearly in the subjunctive, opposite ending, ganemos, okay? When the phrase after the expressions of probability trigger words, okay, so all these maybe, perhaps, whatever, have a high probability of happening, that's when we use indicative. So similar sentence, but totally different because the verb's in the indicative. So maybe we will have, and this is my verb in the indicative, future tense, a vocab quiz this week, okay? Perhaps we'll have a vocab quiz this week. By using the indicative, I'm saying, yeah, we will. That's like almost 100% guaranteed. There's a very good chance, high probability. And thus concludes the exhausting presentation on subjunctive versus indicative in adverbial clauses. So yay you. You'll be masters of this before you know it.